see the constellations.
Jungkook taps his foot as he looks at the clock on the stove again. It was already after 6:30 and knowing that Yonim had a date in less than 1 hour, he felt like he was going to be sick to his stomach. During the past week, his realization that he was crushing on his best friend blossomed into what he now realized is that he had been full on heart stopping, earth shattering, hopelessly in love with her for quite some time. When he told himself he would let her know, he thought he had more time. He thought he could come up with some kind of scenario in his head where he would be able to ease it into the conversation somehow and pray that he wouldn't be one with unreciprocated feeling this time around, not with her. But here he is now, racking his brain for a way to say something without potentially killing a friendship while Yonim gets ready for a date number 2 with a guy who he didn't feel threatened by, worried that it could become something serious if he didn't speak in this truth. Before it was too late, the last thing he wanted to be her man of honor. To say anything when he had a chance, just the thought of having to write a toast in honor of their love disgusted him. Sure, it was highly unlikely, although not entirely impossible, that could be the situation with Jimin, but it wasn't a chance he really wanted to take. Do you think I should wear these or these? Your name walks out holding up two pairs of boots that looked way too similar to even owe both in his opinion. I don't know. The black ones. He shrugs, kind of annoyed by the fact that she was even asking him, but he had to remind himself that she doesn't know how he feels yet, and this was a normal thing between the two of them. Dropping the shoes to her side, she sighs out in frustration. They are both black, and you blew me out about my outfit too. Come on, John Jungkook. Since when you are a wuss? Since when do you not have the balls to just say what you are thinking? Since you fell in love with the woman who's your entire universe, that's when. He whispered in an attempt to coach himself out of his own mental block. He can do this. He can tell her. He has to tell her, stomping back out of the bedroom to snatch her phone off the counter. Yunam sends him the intense glower that obviously intended to intimidate him but just pulled at his heartstrings even more and honestly turned him on. Whether it was him during their seldom arguments or when she had to be met someone else, and even though he had never made her feel any less narking, the truth is that both knew she wouldn't. What the duck is your problem anyway? She stormed back into the living room, obviously needing to get more off her chest. Me? What the duck is my problem? He knew he didn't have a legit response to that question without spilling everything to her, and his uncontrollable anger right now was not the way he intended on telling her. But the more he seemed to try to calm down, the more vexed he became. So, using a man's logic, he answered her question with a question. Yes, Jungkook, your problem. You were fine yesterday. You were fine this morning. What the duck is it? What is it? He briskly walks up to her with his voice rumbling and his brows knitted, making her step backwards until her back collided with the wall of the hallway. His hand pressed against the painted tree lock next to her face as he closed his eyes, trying his best to relax and just come out and say it. He recognizes that the same pained expression she had seen once before, the last time she went out on a date with Jimin, actually, and her heart races as she hopes he'll maybe say he likes her at least. If he liked her, it would be all she needed to know. She wasn't completely crazy for feeling the shift between them, for hopelessly falling in love with him. Slowly lifting her hand, she grazes her nails over his neck until she cups it just behind his ear to run her thumb soothingly over the smooth flesh of his cheek. Both of them could feel him shivering at the contact, making his brow furrow even more. Tell me, please, she pleads in much more softer tone. What if? Cook. Opening his eyes, he slowly looks into hers as his heart broke and mended at all at once. The irony of her back being against the wall, but yet he was the one being concerned, didn't escape him. This what it. Now or never. His heart thumped loudly. The sound of beating and their unsteady breaths were the only thing he could hear. Nervous, didn't even begin to explain how he was feeling as he peered into her big honey brown eyes. I'm in love with you, your name, he whispers, his heart sinking as her eyes grow wide at his words. You're what? She questioned in disbelief of what she just heard. I'm in love with you, he repeats himself as he looks on the ground to prattle of everything he has been inside, feeling the emotional tsunami begin to come to the surface needing to be released. I didn't want to tell you like this. But I think I have always been in love with you, and I was too blind to realize it before. You are my best friend, my only real friend, and I would hate myself if I lost you. But I had to let you know. I don't even expect you to feel the same. If you need me to pretend this never happened, I will do that for you. But I can't lose you, and I couldn't keep it to myself inside anymore. Cook, Jungkook. She urges him to look at her. I'm in love with you too. No longer fighting against the magnetic pull between them, Jungkook hovers his lips against her. The soft pink flesh barely skims against each other as he asks for her permission. Their unsteady breaths exchange between one another as they pause in hopes that what if they both want to do isn't going to ruin everything and only change things for better. A knock on the door forces them to stop in their tracks as Jungkook presses his forehead against her. Her fingers grip on tighter to him, hoping they could hold onto the moment. But when the cancel the date, he whispers with his forehead still pressed to her. I don't care what you decide to say, just please. I don't go. Your name was a woman of her words after all. Even though Jungkook may have waited until the last possible second, even though she was expecting more of a small kiss on the confession of a crush, perhaps telling her he was in love with her was more confirmation than she needed. Nodding her head, Taeyong stands up back, allowing her range of motion in order to go answer the door and thankfully send away her neighbor. Grabbing her robe out of the suitcase that was embarrassingly still inside the living room, she wraps it around her outfit, not let it be known she was all ready to leave. She's met with Jimin's smiling face that soon falters when he sees that look on hers. Hi, I'm sorry to do this with a short notice, but I have to cancel. Oh, okay. Are you sick? Jimin questioned with concern. No, something just changed recently. Oh, can we reschedule? He wonders if in a hopeful tone, but his expression tells her that he knows it's not going to happen. No, I don't think we can. She shakes her head and can hear Jungkook exhale in relief behind her. I see. Well, I'm phone call away if it changes. Jimin graciously states. Nodding her head, she begins to shut the door. Good night, Jimin. Once the door is locked and your has shrugged off the rope from her shoulders, she turns to face the man she had called her best friend almost her entire life, the man who knows a vulnerable amount of details about her, who she really is as a person. There was no use in trying to put her best foot forward with him. He knew at her best, her and her worst, and everything in between. This man standing before her, looking at her unguarded as she felt, was able to read her like an open book. And while that, it itself was intimidating, she also found a sense of security in knowing he was in love with her regardless of her flaws. I'm going to get changed since I'm staying in tonight. She bashfully smiles. I'm not going anywhere, Jungkook whispers as they lock eyes when she passes by. For a second, it felt as if their perfect moment was stolen from them, and he wonders if another chance would come around that it would, until he realized that he had no reason to be worried anymore. She also loved him, and the reality of matter was that he needed to be the man he knew he was and take the moment into his own hands. Walking down the hallway, he prepares himself to just do it. Just knock the door and kiss the woman he loves. Kiss her life. She'd kiss her like she deserved to be kissed. But before he could reach her bedroom and end of the hallway, she opens the door in the usual oversized t-shirt and shorts that just made him want to touch her even more. They both freeze in the place as they look at each other, their chest heaving in anticipation of who will make the first move. Taeyong takes the first step forward, making Yonem feel compelled to briskly walk up to him and jump onto his waist, catching her and holding her onto her tightly, their lips, tongue slips, hands glide over one another as he walked them into the bedroom and lowered her into the queen size bed, nuzzling himself comfortably between her parted legs. It was like the most addictive drug. Once he planned on never giving up, as the oxytocin spread throughout their bodies as if it has the shot straight into their veins. Silent rooms, and her hand slipped underneath his shirt. That heat he felt whenever she would simply hold his hand spread over him like a wildfire in the middle of a rainforest. His lips molded with hers, and her tongue caressed his, as if they were designed for each other, as if no other kiss either of them had could even. Forcing himself to break away from her spell, he moves to cherish her along her jaw and realizes in the sound she was making for him. Sound he knew what beyond just a physical pressure. I want you, he whispers as his tongue slowly scoops up her earlobe to rake up between his teeth, his brow knitting as her nails scraped against his honey complexion. I need you. I need you too. She wins, pulling up his shirt to give him the green light he was looking for.